Well, good afternoon, everybody. This is a Saturday afternoon, and let me adjust my camera here for just a minute. I got so excited about having a day off on Friday that I forgot that it was Friday, and that I normally do a Facebook Live on Friday afternoons at 3 o'clock. So today, I am doing it instead on Saturday. And I am excited to show you a little treat holder that I had on the table, on our Thanksgiving table. It's this, just big enough to hold a Ghirardelli chocolate, and it's double-sided, so you could have, I had 2 chocolates in there, one on each side. It's a very simple thing to make, and it is a perfect way to use up leftover designer series paper. This one is from the retired Poinsettia Place designer series paper, so much that I had left over. The theme altogether was, of course, fall, and I had used this designer series paper from the Celebration stamp set, or designer series paper that coordinates with the embossing folder with the trees. Well, I tell you, I can't think of it right now. Any rate, so this is an easy one to make. You start out with a sheet of 6x6 designer series paper, and you need your Stampin' Trimmer. And you score it diagonally one time. And I like using the trimmer because you can put your point down there and then line up your other point and it scores right up and down. Gotta remember to use the scoring blade, not the cutting blade, that's for sure. And then you move it over so that that score line is on 1/2 inch one way, and you score it again. Then move it the other way from here over 1/2 inch, like that. Gotta have your hand far enough away that you don't move it when you bring down the blade. Like that. Okay, so you've got, see if you can see it better over here. You have the center score line here, and you have 2 score lines on either side. I'm going to fold it on that center one. And then you put that folded line along here, and you put the corner at 2 3/4, like that. Well, hi, Kathy. It's good to see you. And Ruth Saunders, welcome. Or Devold. Glad you're watching. Hi, Sue Thomas. Great, thank you. Then you turn it around. You have to flip it over. And you score it that way. Then you're done with all your scoring. So we can put that aside. And it's a good idea to burnish those folds, those score lines, well. And I want this design to be on the outside, so I'm going to turn it the other way. And then you fold up. Oh, before I do that, I'm going to fold in on these vertical score lines, like that. And you fold in the other one on the score line. So it looks like so. Okay, so 1, this, yes. And it doesn't fold quite right when you do it this way because of the thickness of the paper. So that it's not going to be real tight right here. But that doesn't really matter. Okay, and then you fold the other side. Fold it like this. And turn it over. And fold this one up. So you have a thing like that. Yeah. I did not. I'm going to punch a hole in it, but I decided I wanted to hold it together. So I'm going to put a little bit of seal right there like that. This is the only glue that you have to do, and that helps to hold the points together just right. So this is Retired Designer Series paper, and I am going to use my Retired Crocodile because it makes the best hole. I think it's a 3/8 inch hole. Oh, one other thing I discovered. It's difficult to tie a bow with a point there, so I ended up snipping off the end a bit so that it's flat, like that. Then punch a hole, like so. And this is the ruched Daffodil Delight ribbon, and it's retired too. This is a day for retiring things because I was using it for the dinner table. My guests, retired was perfectly fine, and you can do this with any kind of designer series paper. You just need 6 by 6 inch square. So it's very versatile. Hope I didn't cut that too short. So just tie a bow. Oh, come on, I did make it too short. It's always better to have more than you need than to have to be scrimping at it. And then you can adjust how much of a bow that you need. I did it backwards. Oh, guys, you know what? It goes. Wouldn't you know it? It goes this way. So that your pockets are on the outside. So those of you who are beginners or at doing Facebook Lives, I've been doing them now for a couple of years. I'm a demonstrator for almost 22 years now, and mistakes happen. you consider them to be happy learning experiences of yes. There you go. Now I've got sticky on there. If I was really concerned about it, I would take the embossing buddy. This is in the holiday catalog. It's part of heat embossing embellishment kit. We used to sell them separately. And it's a powder bag, anti-static. And it's great for taking the adhesiveness, stickiness off where you don't want it. Another way to do it, which I have discovered, is to use rubbing alcohol, and you spray that on, and it temporarily breaks the adhesive bond so that you can wipe it off. And the alcohol dries without leaving a mark on your thing. So there we have the basics. Put your chocolate in there. Now, I was going to do a tag up here, but to get what I wanted on a tag, so grateful for you, it would have been a pretty big tag sticking out there, and it wasn't working too well. So I thought, well, heck, we'll just put it on the front here, like this. And this is where the Stamparatus comes in. And I'll show you why. Put that out of the way, and this out of the way. So here's my Stamparatus. And the greeting is in two different things. And if you place the two of them together, like on a block, you can't get it close enough together to get it all onto the tag. So that's where the Stamparatus comes in so nice. So I need to have a blank piece there. I'm using the smallest of these seasonal tags. I'm going to use the smallest one of these. And I'll be right back while I cut a tag out. Because I want to do it with basic white rather than use my Mango Melody piece of cardstock that I'm going to use on the thing. So I put this down in here. I got this first from cutting one of these out. And I used a square big enough to fit into my thing. This is like 4 by 4 approximately. And you put your magnet on there like that. And I'm going to put So Grateful onto here. So that it all gets onto the card tag. And I'm going to pick it up with this acrylic plate. And the acrylic plate has grid marks. Can you see those? Can you see the grid marks on there? So you can line your stamp up. So on this side, I wasn't real good at getting the label exactly right. So I'm going to line it up looking at the stamp itself against the thing and adjust it to one of those grid marks like that. And then I need Truly Espresso ink. And if you're a paper pumpkin fan, you can use, you get, in the paper pumpkin kits, you get these squares. You can also buy the uninked squares in the 1-inch squares in the catalog and then ink them up yourself. So I'm going to give this a try, see, make sure it's straight. And that looks pretty good. Okay, now, next step is for the For You, and I can slide it in so that the letters kind of match like that. And then you could either turn your plate over, this one over, or I happen to have a second plate, which I will pick up that second stamp and then check it for being lined up right. That looks pretty good the way it is. And ink that up. And you see how you can nest them together so nicely with the Stamparatus. You wouldn't be able to position them on an acrylic block like that. So let's do it on the real card. I made 11 of these, and it's really fast to stamp the labels this way, because once you get it set up, you just put the next one into the template, and there you go. So I could then pick up a second one, put a second tag in there, stamp, stamp, a third one, stamp, stamp, and you might occasionally want to wash off your stamps if they get too much ink on them, but you can do quite a few in a really short length of time. So that's one of the things that I like about the Stamparatus, one use for it. Now another one I want to show you, and this, okay, so no, actually two things. Number one, I showed you how you can make the words fit together when the rubber doesn't fit together as close as you would like. The other thing is I showed you how you can get them straight without having to guess, oh, is it straight? Stamp? No, it's not. Stamp. Straighten it. Stamp again. No, it's not. This way you can have it set up, check that it's straight, and stamp numerous times and know that each time it's accurate. Now another thing about it that I love about the Stamparatus is that if you stamp, oh my gosh, it didn't do a good enough job. And then if you were just using your rubber stamp on an acrylic block, you'd have to scrap that paper, because there's no way that you could possibly stamp it straight, even with the photopolymer stamps, getting it exactly right. But now you can ink it a second time, and if you don't like that one, you can ink it again. This is particularly handy if you're using smooth photopolymer stamps that have a smooth that there is a lot of surface that needs to be inked up, because ink doesn't tend to do that does not cover it really easily, so you can keep stamping and stamping. I had to do that with the Scary Cute stamp set, because it was a bold stamp, and I just could not get it to stamp correctly with using a thing. So this is one of the things that you can do. Three of the reasons why a Stamparatus is really handy. Now, Stamparatus comes with 2 plates, I believe. You can buy more. This is a sponge pad. It does not, the Stamparatus does not come with this. It comes with this kind of sponge pad. Doesn't have the grid work on it. The grid work's nice because I could have checked. Okay, so let me explain a little further. For a foam mounted stamp, you can just stamp like that. Now, I better ink it so you can see it. And instead of using a piece of scrap paper, you could just use the grid to check to see if it's straight. So you can stamp like that. And it gives a good image. Except that if you're over here by the edge, it's not real good. So I always, even with the cling stamps, I always use this extra one. Or another thing that works very well is the craft sheet, silicone craft sheet, and it gives a nice raising to it. With the photopolymer, you definitely need to have this, or this combination works real well too. This is designed for the photopolymer. So along with the idea of the template type thing, let me clean my thing off here. You can make a wreath, and I'm going to show you the technique of it. I've made a template. This is for not quite a 3-inch square piece of cardstock. And this is an experiment. I haven't tried it. I have tried it. I have tried it with, that's a little bit too big yet. I'm thinking that a word, okay, so it's got to come, okay, how much more do I need to trim down? I was thinking it might be fun to do it with a for you word for a word thing. Well, this is just going to have to do. I'm going to move this around. Now I'm going to start with it here. This is an experiment, guys. Don't know how it's going to work. Oh, wrong side. I'm going to use the thicker. I've done this with leaves and flowers, but I thought for fun, I would do one that says for you. So stamp that, and then you turn it a quarter of a turn. And you stamp. Turn it again. Stamp. You can also use the Stamparatus for making reverse images and mirror images. It's just got a lot of use. I kind of like this. Now if I'd have put the F in the center, it would have been a little harder because it would have overlapped. But I like the way it's out here on the outside edge. Oh, wrong way. And if you're doing leaves and flowers, it will depend on the length of the stamp or the image as to whether it will overlap or whether it'll be separated like this. Something you kind of have to play with a little bit. And one last time. And there you go. Put a nice gem in the center of it, and you've got a very nice centerpiece for the front of a card, for a birthday card, for you, for you, for you. So this is a way to use a wreath, to make a wreath. And that was a slight, not quite 3-inch square. And then I made a larger one that is a 4-inch square in here. Started with the outside being 7 inches. And what you do is you lay your, you just draw your points, and then you cut around the outside to make it. Or if you have a square die, if you had a square die, you could die cut it this way, and then you could turn it and die cut it the other way. And that would be the fast way to do it. So those are a couple of ways to use the Stamparatus. Some of my favorites. I highly advise you to get it. Now back to our little treat holder. We've got it all ready except for the label. You could put it on with Stampin' Dimensionals if you wanted. Just have to be kind of careful you don't get the seal up where you can't, where this couldn't come out. So there you go. Double-sided. That's the way it looks. And it nicely holds 2 little treats. Now the other thing you could do is you could put your label in the back or a note and stick it in the back. Like, let's say that you know somebody who's kind of under the weather. You could give them a chocolate. That always makes people feel better. And then you could write, make this a pocket with a note in there with a little message on how you want them to feel better fast. I thank you for watching. This is Sue, the Soggy Stamper. Rain or shine, it is stamping time. And if you have any questions about this, you can email me, sue@soggystamper.com. My blog is www.soggystamper.com, and I'll put the directions for this on my blog this afternoon. If you need any of the supplies or any of your stamping needs, any of your supplies, I'd love to have you be my customer. Creations by Sue.stampinup.net, and I'll put this video up on my YouTube channel, The Soggy Stamper. Have a wonderful rest of your Saturday and Sunday, and we'll see you next Friday at 3 o'clock. Bye-bye.